All right, let's try this one last time. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're calling the regular meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, deletions, or changes to the proposed agenda for this evening? Roll call.
President Schneider.
Present.
President Pro Tem Dyke. Councilmember Feldman.
Here.
Councilmember Glasser.
Present.
Councilmember Kuligowski. Councilmember Powell.
Present.
Councilmember Stuffler. Present.
Okay, communications, we have what has now become the usual monthly report from Lapeer County EMS. And this one is for September. One other, and check with the clerk's office if you want to review the details of that report. One other communication, I called David Trent just to see how he's doing, and he wanted me to say hello to council members because he hadn't been in touch with us of late, and he indicates that his health condition is improving. So here's hoping for him. But it was nice talking to him. It seemed like the right thing to do. And so he just wanted me to say hello to council. Doing the right thing, right? Moving on to consent agenda. I don't know who drafted the minutes, Kim, this time, but I'm sorry to report I found nothing to edit. It was-
Are you sure? Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, so looked perfect to me. Anybody else on council with regard to the regular meeting minutes for October 15, 2024? Not there being none. We move on to general fund. Major streets, local streets, Parks and Recreation Fund, Down Development Authority Fund, Sewer Fund, Water Fund, Equipment Fund, Payroll Register Report. You have the Elmont Fire Department report as well in here. Which on this occasion includes the Elmont Township Fire Department Cadet Program bylaws. Interesting to note. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. And now is the time for public comment for any item that is on our regular agenda for this evening. Is there any public comment as to agenda items? Being none. Regular agenda item number 1, proclamation. I presume that has been taken care of. Right? Okay.
You should vote on it.
Pardon?
You should vote on it.
Oh,
To enter it into the
there
record.
needs to be okay. All right. Manager and clerk treasurer indicating there should be a vote with regard to the village's proclamation, which was so well read by President Pro Tem Dyke.
I'll make a motion to enter into the record the proclamation honoring Steve Schneider's retirement into the record as presented.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to enter the proclamation that was read earlier in the evening into the record. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? I abstain. So unanimously approved by all those council members in attendance or who have abstained. Regular agenda item number 2, DDA board resignation. Apparently this had taken place some time ago, but it was, this is Patricia Feldman's resignation from the DDA board. And apparently it's never been brought before council previously, and it did go before the DDA board, but it's council's obligation to accept or deny Patricia Feldman's resignation. So is a discussion or is there a motion?
Motion, I guess my only question is if we're getting a resignation on June 26th, why is it coming to us on November 6th? Like 4 months, is there any explanation for that?
And it was, I don't want to assume things. Would have to assume. I assume it was not forwarded to the village.
Correct.
Okay.
We didn't receive it until when?
Well, when I saw the memo about the appointment and replacement of.
Was that about 2 weeks ago?
And that was forwarded from who?
Executive director.
Okay.
And the memorandum to council is dated, well, October 31st. Yeah. Okay. Or the fact that it hadn't been forwarded to the village. So I suppose something can be taken up with the executive director, especially once the new president sits.
Can we check with the executive director to find out when they received it and why, well, I guess we'd have to make the point of when did they receive it? And if it was received along this date line of the email, then why was it waited 4 months before it was procured to us?
We'll do that research.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it would be accurate to say that the resignation presented by Patricia Feldman, it's dated at the top June 26, 2024, and I believe that is when it was presented to the DDA board. It's my recollection. So in any event, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the resignation of Ms. Feldman from the DDA board.
Support. Motion made by Councilmember Stifler, supported by Councilmember Glasser, to accept Patricia Feldman's resignation. For any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
So approved by all council members in attendance, however, recognizing the abstention of Pete Feldman. Agenda item number 3, DDA board appointments. The first one is Mr. Scott White. Is Scott here this evening? Yes, you are. Scott, would you care to make any presentation to council? Doesn't have to be long.
Hello, my name's Scott White. I recently moved here. I just would like to get involved with the city. My wife and I plan on staying here for the rest of our lives, and just have always wanted to be involved and help build the community. So hopefully you guys recognize that and would like to welcome me on. Thank you.
I participated in the DDA board meeting when Mr. White was first applying for the position, and also looked over rather carefully the credentials that he brings to the table, which appear to be voluminous. And the interview went quite well. I think the DDA board was impressed with him. Therefore, I am going to appoint Scott White to the DDA board and request ratification from council.
There's only one concern, is that nothing against Mr. White, but unfortunately, if you read the DDA bylaws, he does not qualify to be a DDA member.
Because
For their bylaws, it says, not less than a majority of the members shall be persons having an interest in property located in the DDA district, including officers, members, trustees, principals, or employees of a legal entity having an interest in property located in the DDA district. Fortunately, Mr. White does not live in the DDA district, doesn't own a building in the DDA district, and doesn't work for anybody who does.
Brookshire. So Brookshire Drive is outside the DDA district, that'd be correct? Scott, do you know whether your residence is within the DDA district?
I just know it's within the village. I have no idea.
Know the other DDA members, their statuses of, which members are affiliated with what businesses, and because you mentioned, I forget, was it over half or,
Said not less than a majority of the member.
so do we
So-
know?
So the majority of the members do qualify. So it's not, it's not unanimous. So therefore, as long as you have a majority, which there is a majority that qualify for that meet the qualifications you just listed off of the bylaws, then it would be acceptable. Argument opposing that?
Well, we have two members that meet that requirement today. They both live in the DDA district, Krista and Melissa.
Yeah, and the others have,
Property interest. They don't
business-
pay property taxes in the DDA. And they don't work for businesses that pay property taxes within the DDA. They either lease space.
so, let's see, Andy, is your office located within the DDA district?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that makes 3.
Nope, he doesn't own that building.
It's not a requirement that he owns it. It's, operating a business.
Does he pay property taxes?
That's not required to pay property taxes. That's not what the bylaws say.
So then what does having an interest in property located mean?
What are the rest of the qualifications?
That's it.
I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but let's go over them again then.
So I guess that's why I'm raising, that's the concern, right? Is that we need to have a discussion about what is, because the application actually with the village doesn't represent what the bylaws say either.
It's always been a qualification if you are participating in a business or operating a business within the DDA district. So I think by those standards, Andy would qualify.
Okay.
Since at present there are 5 members, so 3 out of 5 makes a majority.
Does it indicate the resident members, whether they have to be living in the district?
Yes, it says that.
That's
it-
one of the
it says
qualifications.
At least one member, if the district has 100 residents, has to be.
And the last time we took a count when Nancy Boxer was still around, it was just over 100, but there were 100. So therefore, that
One
does-
member
that
has to
does
be a
apply. You
resident.
need
One
one
member
resident.
has to
At least
be.
one, and it happened to be two.
Yeah.
And then, and if
So
Andy
the,
is,
the interpretation debate is this. Do you have to own property within the DDA district to be a member of the DDA? Or do you have to be, have a interest within a business within the DDA, i.e. Owning a business but leasing the space or being an employee within? So
Being a proxy thereof.
So if Pete's interpretation is that you have to be a paying property tax owner to own a business to be within the DDA, then that disqualifies the current members. The other interpretation, which I thought was correct, is that if you have a business within the DDA or employed by a business within the DDA, then you qualify.
that's always been my understanding. I think what bylaws required and what this, there's a statute that also
That's my
also
interpretation.
control. And this, and the bylaws follow the statute, the state of Michigan statute. Andy operates a business within the district, therefore he qualifies.
Okay, so if we use that as the scale,
If we use that as a scale, then you've got two members that are residents. Then you've got three members that either own a business and lease or are employees of a business, which would be 5. Then the 2 we're appointing tonight would be the non-residents, which would be allowed.
well, actually, one is a resident.
What's that?
Actually, one of the two is a resident of the DDA district.
There are two.
What I'm saying,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, so that would give you the majority.
Yeah.
They're not tax-paying businesses, but they are people that have an interest within the DDA. That's how I interpret it. And that's, I think, how we've always have interpreted it. So the 2 new members would not be within that qualification, but they meet the criteria because there's already a majority.
Correct, but one of the new appointees does meet that requirement because he lives within the DDA district.
The other one,
Just not the first one.
but the secondary one would also meet the criteria because he's a village resident and there's a majority of people that meet the majority criteria according to section 1 of the bylaws.
For the current interpretation.
Yes. So,
Okay.
so if then we'd have to get a legal opinion to quantify it and then see it and get a legal opinion because this is based off the state statute. So we'd have to get a legal opinion to verify which is the correct interpretation.
I disagree from the standpoint that neither the statute nor the bylaws make any reference whatsoever as to paying property taxes. Paying property taxes is ownership, essentially. So, and ownership is not the only standard. So operating a business by itself makes the person qualified for the DDA board. And all of the case law that addresses that issue relating to that particular statute that regulates DDAs in the state of Michigan, there's not one that says you have to pay property taxes. There's no reference to that whatsoever. That's something that just plunked on the table tonight that has never, ever been raised previously and is nowhere within the law. If you operate a business and you happen to be leasing it, you don't pay the property taxes, you pay rent. You only have to pay property taxes if you're the owner. And he's not the owner, he's leasing, but he is operating a business within the district. Therefore, majority. Therefore, Mr. White qualifies. Provide some authority that you have to show that you pay property taxes, even though that's not what the bylaws say, and that's not what the statute says. Expect this much excitement, did you, Scott?
Stir the pot big time.
Want to be a lawyer? Fun.
And so there were no other applicants for either of these two open positions, correct?
There's another applicant this evening.
There's two,
Right,
no other.
for each position.
Right.
Yes, yes,
So we have two applicants and
Right.
two open
Mhm.
positions.
yes.
Okay.
There was a third applicant to sit on the board, and that was me. But somehow I think appointing myself would be inappropriate. So therefore, it's not on the agenda for this evening. 'Cause I didn't want to go to jail.
Okay.
And council, what's your pleasure? I'm not hearing any authority for the objection to appointing Mr. White.
Are you voicing an objection, Pete, or just asking that question?
No, I am voicing an objection to it.
Okay.
We had our discussion. I think we agree to disagree on the interpretation of the bylaws.
Argument against it is that's a misreading of the bylaws. Excuse me, too much pizza.
I'll make the motion that we ratify the appointment of Mr. White to the DDA board.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Steffler, supported by Councilmember Powell, to ratify my appointment of Scott White to the DDA, Downtown Development Authority Board. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Second. So by a 1, 2, 3, 4. By a 5-1 vote, Mr. White, you're appointed. When's our next meeting, Andy? Okay. So the next applicant is Charlie Kroll. Charlie, I know you're a little shy about making speeches, but did you wish to say anything to council?
Hi, I'm Charlie Kroll. I've lived in Elmont since 1968. I work in Elmont, just down the street at Aristocast.
And your present residence is where?
My residence is 111 West St. Clair, right behind the Rustic Bluebird.
Therefore, within the DDA
Yes, sir,
district?
as far as I understand.
Yes,
And
I understand correctly.
I've been in this town, like I said, since then. I've coached wrestling for 14 years here. I just feel it's time. It's kind of funny with, you were talking about it earlier. I've come to the point where I want to do something in the community I live, besides coach wrestling and things like that. I live in downtown. I see what the DDA has done, and I like the fact that it's starting to become a hub for people to come here. Like when we have a parade, you see people you never see from around here. They come from different places. The car show, they come from everywhere. I know because I pushed a lot of people to come to here. And then you hear them say, man, I'm going to go to that restaurant and I want to do this. And I want to be here and help to make this place where people want to come. That's all I have. Thank you.
Charlie, I do want to indicate there was some real enthusiasm from the DDA board members to have Charlie apply to be on the board. in large part, besides what Charlie just said, that he has given of himself as a volunteer for our events on a very significant basis. A lot of volunteering, and everybody has been pretty pleased with the extent to which he's put himself forward, putting his time and effort into it. So therefore, I am going to appoint Mr. Kroll and request council ratification.
I'll make the motion that we ratify the appointment of Mr. Kroll to the DDA board.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Steffler, and was it you, Wayne? Supported by Councilmember Glasser, to ratify my appointment of Charlie Kroll to the DDA board. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Charlie, you're appointed. Okay. Be at our next DDA board meeting, okay? Good. Thank you. Next, regular agenda item number 4, EQ valve installation. Clint or manager?
President, I'll
Make the
I'll
presentation.
start off if you have any questions after. As you know, several months ago, we authorized the purchase of valves for replacement to our EQ basin. Those valves have arrived, and we went out for bids to bring in a certified, trained expert to install them. We got 3 bids. Kennedy Excavating is an excellent local corporation that does this kind of work all over the county, and we have put in for them to install these EQ valves. They were also the lowest bidder. Clinton wrote the memo, so if you have any questions, you can certainly ask.
Questions, discussion, council?
The only question I have is with Kennedy Excavating, they put in a kind of a get out of jail free card comment in their quote, and that was that if they didn't have enough room to properly shore per OSHA guidelines, they could put in a change order request. What is our feeling on the potential of that happening?
I don't think it'll happen. They have, again, they work all over the place. They have many different boxes for working below ground, so they'll definitely have the equipment. But if they do, it'll be done by OSHA guidelines, which of course we want everybody to be safe, so.
Just making sure that they could be the low bid and then come in with a $5,000 change order.
Well, they certainly don't have that reputation,
Okay.
so.
So I would recommend it because we did one of the valves last year, so they're familiar with it. So they'll know, they know exactly.
Reputation and experience. Further discussion?
Motion that we approve the EQ basin valve replacements in the amount of $9,200 to Kennedy Excavating as presented.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Feldman, to approve the request for Kennedy Excavating quote, replacement of the EQ valve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Last on our regular agenda is fiscal year 2025 first quarter budget amendments. Kim, go.
Included in your packet is our recommendation for the first quarter budget amendments. Instead of going through it line by line, if you have questions, I will answer them.
Council, you see the highlighted portions of the budget amendments. Discussion as to specific items highlighted or the budget amendments in general.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler to approve the fiscal year 2025 first quarter budget amendments as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. That wraps up our regular agenda for this evening. Now is public comment time for any non-agenda items. Is there public comment time?
Good evening. Most of you know me. I'm Kim Shaw. I'm a township resident, but I was also a previous director. The reason why I've come here tonight is because I attended a DDA meeting, I think it was 2 meetings ago, and I questioned the purchase of the property, the Old American Legion Hall, when they bought it for $100,000 cash. I was told that Mr. Schneider had told the DDA board that they did not have to answer my question that night. So my question is, being that you are the council, you are over the DDA, you are supposed to look at their budgets, see what's going on. Where did they get $100,000 cash to buy the Legion Hall outside of the DDA district? I know as being a previous director, we had to take a loan out for the streetlights. We had to get a grant for the streetscape project. I know, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have $100,000 just laying around. So my question is, where did the money come from? And why would you allow, or they allow, a treasurer on the DDA board to represent the DDA in the sale of the property and receive a commission on it? That's a huge conflict of interest. And also having the chairman sign the purchase agreement, which is a financial commitment on behalf of the DDA. So those are my questions. There's no transparency whatsoever with the DDA board. So, I mean, when I did my budgets, I had it down to the penny. I mean, at the end of the day, we had maybe $16,000 left in 1 year after I got the tax money in. Now, I know you forecast for the taxes that come in, and you look at that, and it might look like you got $300,000, $400,000 in there right now, but you don't. You're forecasting getting, say, $170,000 from your tax capture. So unless they're going and dipping into the cash that they don't have yet, I don't think that's a good idea. But I'd like to know where the money came from. And especially to buy something outside of the DDA district, because all of my time as director and previous director, you can't take taxpayers' dollars and buy a building outside the district. The money is supposed to stay within the district. This is why you raise funds for the festivals, for whatever, because you're raising money to keep into the district. So I would just like to know where that's come from and how they can purchase it. So, thank you.
Just so council's clear on procedures and whatever I might have indicated to the DDA board at that meeting that Ms. Shaw attended and presented herself in public comment time. I indicated to the board, to the DDA board, the same structure that we have here. That being, it's public comment time. It's not interrogatory time or interrogation time. And that did not, the TDA board was not required to respond to Ms. Schall's questions during the public comment time. Because it was strictly that, public comment. Nonetheless, somewhat to my consternation, the DDA board responded to her questions, and the questions she just raised were answered at the DDA board meeting. And so that meeting is obviously, it's recorded, can be checked by council members. If the manager, our manager, clerk treasurer, and council members thinks it needs to be put for some reason, evidence-based on the village council's agenda, then it should be done. So I'm representing that her questions were in fact answered, actually during public comment time. I was trying to indicate to them that's not how it should be done. And what I said was, you do not have to respond to public comment during public comment time. If you want to address the questions that Ms. Schall inquired, you can address them later in the meeting. But I advise the DA board, don't do it during public comment time because you just open the door to trouble. Well, they ignored my advice and they responded to her. So
Yes, they did.
your time is done.
I didn't have 3 minutes, you get 3 to 5 minutes. I have it right here.
How much time you spent so far?
Not 5 minutes. But,
Who said 5 minutes?
want me to pull it? I have it with me. Believe me, my folder, I have it here. You can have 3 to 5 minutes in public comment.
It's 3 minutes.
Well, I'm still going to respond because they threw it back on Kim saying their response, Angela's response was, we got permission from Kim. Kim said we had too much money in our budget and we had to spend it or we'd be fined. That is true, but you have like 5 years to do it. But where did they get the money from to begin with? Because unless they had some major windfall, they wouldn't have had that type of money with paying a full-time director, with paying all they do for the Heritage Festival, for all these other things that they do. So I'm just saying, yes, it was responded to.
Time's up.
Well, I know, but
And so that was a misrepresentation because it was clearly demonstrated the money came directly out of the DDA's fund, the money that it had in the bank. So, but council is free to review the YouTube version of it and take a look and see if you think that there were any improprieties and actually should be brought before council. From my point of view, it was resolved at the DDA meeting. If our manager or council thinks differently, then raise and ask to be put on an agenda, but make it evidence-based. Is there any other public comment this evening? And if council wants to discuss what just happened, please feel free. Council wants to have any further discussion on the issue just raised, so.
Sorry.
It's public comment time, so.
I didn't even get to talk.
No, I'm sorry. Operator error, sorry about that.
Paula Alfonsi, in this day and age, but it's all about transparency. I'm getting real tired about that word. But when I come to a meeting and I have questions for the board, and I don't care what meeting it is, generally I get answers that night. And when you go to a DDA meeting, again, everybody clams up and there's no answers. If you want to be transparent, I would think that they would just answer questions. And as far as interrogating, I don't feel it was interrogating, it was a question. If we want to know something, how are we supposed to find something out? Do we really have to FOIA everything and then turn around? It's public knowledge. We have to pay to get the FOIA. It just seems like everything nowadays is just hidden. And it's not an open book. And you're talking about taxpayers' money. And if it's all honest and goodness, then just say it. Why does it have to be a big secret? I don't get it.
You know why.
I know why?
Yes, you know why. It's precisely based on your interrogation of council many years ago, where most of the council members, oh, yes, Ms. Alfonsi, we'll answer your question, until you got to me and said, this is your public comment time, not your interrogation time. And that's what you did. You did a very good job, like a lawyer would. And we didn't put a structure in place that all is permitted. It is comment time. It is not question and answer time. And if council wishes to address the question, then you can.
If they're commenting, then we should not be responding in that fashion.
Thank you.
It's true. But
I'm good.
yes,
I'm
fine.
just making a comment. Thank you.
Anybody else with public comment for non-agenda items? Time for manager council comment. Manager Kerberson, anything to bring to council?
Sure, I just thought I'd give you a little update on some items we've been working on since our last meeting. Well, I don't know if we ended up getting it done, but we're doing a lot of preparation for winter, the freeze cycle if we get one. Vacuuming out our lift stations, making sure that they're prepped for the winter, winterizing, pumping out fire hydrants so they're prepped for the winter. We've been doing leaf pickup. I'm sure you've seen that. It's been very effective. The guys work consistently all day. They get an amazing amount done in town in one day. One item that I've been working on, as you know, I started to attempt to collect bad debts that were owed the village. We had several of them when I first arrived. We're down to 2, and one I've attempted to collect several times. We've finally gotten correspondence from the group that owed us money. I took their response and reviewed it with the city attorney. He agreed with me that their excuse for not paying the bill was completely irrelevant. So as of yesterday, on behalf of the village, I've sued the county drain commissioner in small claims court to pay the outstanding bills for the Stroop drain project that occurred here in the village. It's about $1,500, but we can't continue to let it go. And now's the time certainly to act, because that position will change shortly. I wanted to let you know that this coming Monday, Veterans Day, I will not be here. I'll be off that day. And since it's my comments, I will say it's been a pleasure working with you, Mr. President. Thank you for hiring me.
Likewise, Manager Kerberson. It's mutual. Kim?
The election last night went fairly smooth. I believe we had a record number of voters. I talked to the township clerk, and it was 81.4% of the registered voters got out and voted. So I don't think it's ever been that high. So it was a great accomplishment. Also, Steve, thank you for your years of service. It's been a pleasure working with you. And I was wondering, who are you going to appoint to correct my minutes from now on?
Well, I volunteered my service to be the editor emeritus or something like this. I'm happy to do it. You would have to, I don't know.
Do after the fact.
Charter, right? Right. Yes, sure. I know. I will sadly miss that duty. And likewise, Kim, it's been a pleasure working with you. You're coming on board here certainly made a tremendous difference in how this village functioned. And I mean, you know more about this village than anybody else that's ever been here. And you've done a stellar job. So
Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure working with you.
I just wanted to welcome the new DDA members, and then again, congratulations and thank you for the years of service, Steve.
Pete?
Nothing other than congratulations, enjoy retirement. Don't get lost in the woods walking.
Do my best. As long as there's no wolves or bears. Tim?
Yeah, the streetlight at Bristol, Washington is either out or malfunctioning, going on and off. It's dark there a lot. If we could get DTE to look at it. Kim, let me rewatch the meeting that I watched it once, but let me rewatch it and then let me interpret what you're saying tonight, and I'll reach out to you. Steve, we've agreed, we've disagreed, we've yelled, we've cried, we've accomplished a lot. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been president in 1998. Yeah, so thanks for all your service. And if you agree or disagree with Steve, he could bankrupt the village if he charged us for all the free legal advice he's given us over the years. So that much appreciated for your service.
Appreciate it. Indy?
First thing I want to talk about is a project I believe I mentioned a couple of meetings ago at the park. The park board agreed to authorize a budget to purchase daffodil bulbs to plant at the park. So I took my budgeted allotment and we have over 3,000 daffodil bulbs to plant in the park. Planning on kicking this off on Sunday at noon. If anyone would like to come and volunteer to assist, that'd be much appreciated because it's going to be a big job. But I'm really excited about it as a way to beautify the park, bring some joy to people as they come visit it or walk along the bike path to enjoy a few thousand daffodils. So there was a Facebook announcement to get in touch with me with my email address if you want to sign up or if anyone has any questions. Council, I sent you a few slides that show where they are to be planted. If you have any questions or comments, feedback, please let me know. But I'm really excited about it, and I probably won't wait till Sunday, to be honest. I'll probably be out there with a couple shovels and make my kids work on it. But Veterans Day, if I don't get it all done Sunday, I'll probably be out there too if anyone wants to come join me. The only other thing I wanted to say was to thank you, Steve. I wouldn't be here in this chair if it weren't for you. I still remember the time you called and left me a voicemail and said, "This is President Schneider. Can you give me a call?" And I thought it was like being called to the principal's office. I don't know. Did I do something wrong? Like, does my yard look okay? Like, why is the president calling me? And it was to encourage me to apply for an open seat on council. I never would have thought to do that, and appreciate the encouragement to do so, and the guidance that you've given me over the years. And the thing I like to say about serving on this council is that no matter what we discuss or disagree or come to heads on, it's always been a very respectful council with each other, and I don't think there's many boards that can say that. We all treat each other with respect, and I think that's due to your leadership. So thank you.
So much. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure working with you, Mindy.
That's all.
Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate, congratulations for your years of service. I know we haven't spent a lot of time together, but it's definitely been a pleasure working with you. Also wanted to welcome our new DDA board members. It's really nice to see people continuing to be involved in our community. And then lastly, just wanted to say congratulations to the newly elected village council members that we are taking on. So.
Thank you. Well, as far as the comments have been made, it just follows along the line of what I said earlier in the evening before our council meeting started, which was trying to the greatest extent possible to work by consensus. And whatever accomplishments were achieved, it was in coordination with all the council members. And it has been professional and respectful. And that's been a real been pleasure to work with all of you. And I think we've accomplished a great deal. So we're adjourned.
Use the fancy gavel.
Don't hit it too hard.
Oh, boy.